Good afternoon, everybody. This is Roger Well with Infos, and you have logged into the Infos 3 user training session for claims, formerly known as cost recovery. The first thing I'd like to do is go over the agenda. Okay, the first item that we'll review will be planning for claims. This is basically going to be just a high-level overview of planning in terms of planning for the cash receipts or the receivables. We already had a session on planning, so this will just be highlighting some of those areas. Items number 2, 3, and 4 really form the heart of the transactional management. So we're going to go over managing payers or paying entities, managing the claims themselves, and then managing payments or receipts of cash flow from the claims that were submitted. And then we'll end up talking about the recovery balance financial statement that links back into the financial plan for the project or area of concern. All right, the first area that we're going to talk about will be the overview of the cash flow forecast for recovery. That is in the finance module. So I'm hovering over finance. I'll go into planning, and I'm going to just click on life cycle. So we had a session earlier this week where we talked about cash flow management for the spend side or the future spend side. We have exact functionality for that for the cost recovery side. So if you have an area of concern or project where you know that you're going to be receiving some kind of incoming cash flow in the future, you can plan for it in the planning submodule. We're looking at an example project where I've already set this up. When I hit my or click on my view drop down, I have 3 options: cost, recovery, or net cost. So the cost is the expected spend. So in this example, we can see by phase of work what our expected spend is over the life of this project. If I click on the area for recovery, this is the projected incoming cash flow that was created for this particular project. So you can see that we're expecting to receive $20,000 back in 2016 for work done on the preliminary assessment, $20,000 in 2017 for work done on the interim measures, and then in 2018 we're expecting incoming cash for remedial investigation of $50,000 and for feasibility study $10,000. So you can see we're getting our totals by year, and then we're getting our totals by work phase, and then at the bottom far right is the total estimated recovery. The other view option then is the net, and what that's going to do is just do the math. It's going to subtract out for each cell in the grid the difference between the cost and the recovery. So you can see some of these are negative numbers, meaning that the net for 2018 for remedial investigation is an incoming $40,000. And then I have a total net of 487. So again, just to go over that, we can see the cost, 587,000. The recovery is 100,000, and the net is 487. These are projections, okay? Don't forget that what we're looking at here are projections of cash flow, both incoming and outgoing, as well as the net. I'm not going to go back through and show you how those numbers are planned because we did that already, but I'll just give you a quick reminder. If you come over into Finance Planning and click on Plans, this gives you the history of all of the plan changes for this particular project. If I needed to make a change to the plan, I would click Add, and I'll just put in a date here. I won't finish this off. The reason why we're making a change. I'll hit Save and Next. I'm going to copy the previous plan. So in this case, we're looking at the cost in the plan, and I could go through and make edits. If I want to go to the recovery, I would select recovery, and that will pull in, sorry about that, that will pull in my recovery projections, and I can make changes to those, just like I would do in my cost side. So that's the planning. I won't go through all the workflow. Like I said before, we're going to go ahead and come out of that. Okay, so that's the item number 1 on the training agenda, planning for claims and cost recovery. It doesn't matter what type of cost recovery it is. We'll get into this in a little bit, but this could be leaking underground storage tank funds. This could be other it could be third parties, former property owners, former RPs that are on the hook for reimbursing you. Could be insurance companies where you're submitting claims through the life of a project because you have insurance. So really, it could be any kind of recovery or receivable that you need to plan for that would be done in that area that we just looked at. Okay, so now we're going to move over into the process of actually managing the claims. So this is in a submodule called claims. We used to call it recovery, so we've changed the name. It's called claims. It's done at the area of concern level, the lowest level in the hierarchy, just like your proposals, purchase orders, and invoices are done. Claims are also managed at the lowest level in the organizational hierarchy, so it's really the project level. And we have similar sections that we did in Infos 2. We have the payer list, the claims list, the payments list, a chart, and then documents, so that documents can be managed and stored and uploaded, such as an image of the claim package that was prepared and produced. So we're going to start out with managing payers. So I'm going to open that section up, and I've already established one payer for our fictitious site in the state of Illinois. Illinois has a leaking underground storage tank reimbursement fund, so we've set up a paying entity for this project called the Illinois Lust Fund. It has some attributes such as the type, the eligibility status, the deductible status, and then what expense type or what project type are we managing claims against, and then the total paid. So this is a summary of that. So we can see that for our AOC 342.REM, we've already received $90,000 of payments from the Illinois Lust Fund. Okay. If I want to just manage an existing payer and I have permissions for that, I'll be able to click on the link and I can come in and look at the details for the Illinois Lust Fund. So we have a payer summary. So in this case, you can see that there's some additional fields here. We have a vendor company. This means that this is the service provider that's responsible for managing the claims on this project for us. So we have a company called Environmental Consultant, Inc. If you have edit permissions, you'd be able to come in and make changes to that. Okay. You can also add contacts. Maybe you have a reimbursement specialist If it's an insurance company, maybe you want to add your contacts for the insurance provider. You may add your environmental consultants here if you would like to assign them as contacts. It's basically saying they're the people that are responsible for the claims against this payer. There is a valid value list here for the type of payer. This just will allow you to run reports using this in a query. So if you want to look at all of our recoveries from last year by a certain payer type, you would be able to select from one of these normalized values and run that in a report. These are examples. So third party, non-insurance, insurance, underground storage tank fund cash, UST fund direct pay. Those are examples. Okay, that's the payer summary. We already looked at the contacts, and then we have additional details for the payer. So you can see that, again, we're still looking at the payer, the Illinois Leaking Underground Storage Tank Fund, and we're looking at our eligibility status, an eligibility number, the date that the decision on their eligibility was made, and then you can add comments. Deductibilities. So we have a $50,000 deductible for this project with that paying entity. As you're managing claims and entering deductibles and eligible and ineligible expenses, the total amount deducted will be tracked. So in our example, we've already had $50,000 deducted from our claim submittals. The deductibility was met on 1/1 of 2012. And you can see the status, and you also have comments. Many payers have a maximum amount per project. So if you do have a per project max amount, you can track the maximum amount, the amount paid, and your remaining amount still that could potentially be received. And again, if you have edit permissions for this information, you would have an edit button, and you would be able to come in and make changes to this through time if you're tracking this information for your customer. Okay, I'm going to go back out to the recovery list. And that was all discussions around the payer. The last thing I would just show you is if you need to add another payer, maybe we have a leaking underground fund, but maybe we also have another payer. I would click add. I would put in the payer's name, AIG Insurance. I would assign a type. It's an insurance. I could put in all the additional information that we've already talked about. Assignments. I could add contacts to this payer, eligibility, deductibilities, and then maximums. Once I'm done entering that, I would hit save. And looks like I have one field that I have to enter. Okay, eligibility. So I'll just make it eligible. Okay. So in this case, I added a second paying entity for this site. And I could track and then manage claims against that paying entity separately from the Illinois Leaking Underground Tank Fund. Okay. So that was the payer list. We're going to move on now to claims. This is basically claims tracking, as well as appeal to those claims. So in this case, we only have one claim. This is really the summary level information for that claim: the claim number, the status, the submittal date, the project type, the claim amount, the amount paid, the deductible amount, again, that was withheld on that claim, any ineligible amounts, pending approved amounts. Sometimes you'll get approval letters in advance of the check being cut, so people need to track pending approved. And then the balance. Okay, the balance is a mathematical calculation basically saying out of all the amount that we have submitted in that claim, how much more can we potentially get back? In my example, it's 0. Okay. If we had an appeal to add against a particular claim, we would click Add Appeal, and it's going to pull up appeal information to track against that claim. The appeal number, the appeal amount, and then some of the additional information that you would have in tracking the appeal data. I'm going to hit cancel there. Okay, now if we want to look at the details, if that summary table isn't enough information on that claim, we can click the actual claim itself. And within the claim, we have the claim summary. We have the contacts on the claim, if you want to track those separately from the contacts on the payer. And then you have your appeal information. We haven't added an appeal on this claim, that's why we don't have any, but you can have one or more appeals against this claim. Okay, so that's the detailed information about the claim. To add a new claim, you would come to the claims list section and click on add. And now we're going to put in a new claim number. So I'm just making one up. Okay, so 2016 January-001. The payer name. So because we have two payers, I have a drop-down list here. I'm either submitting a claim to my insurance payer or a claim to my leaking underground tank fund. So I'll select the Illinois Trust Fund. What's the status? So again, whenever you see a drop-down list in Infos, those are configurable. So these can be changed on the administration side of the system. But let's just say that this is new. We can put in some kind of a legal number if we need to on the claim. The beginning date of the work. So I'm going to put in January 1. And the ending date of the work will be January 31st. The submittal date, let's just assume we haven't submitted it yet. The decision date, the expected recovery date. So we may know that we're getting a 3-month turnaround. So I could go out to maybe April 4th. And I can put comments in here. Okay. And then I'm going to just add what is our claim amount. So I'm going to be submitting a $10,000 claim. And I could add contacts. But when I'm done with that, I'm just going to go ahead and hit save. So now you can see we have 2 claims being tracked for this particular project, 342.rem. In order to raise a claim, you have to have a payer, at least one. Okay. So that's kind of a hierarchical relationship. Claims can only be entered and tracked against a payer that is already established. So we can just track that information. The claim amount is $10,000. The balance is still $10,000. So let's say we've done our work now. We have our package. We want to update this. So we come into the claim summary, click edit. I'm going to go ahead and say it's submitted. I'll put in today's date. The claim amount didn't change. I could add a contact here. So I'm going to say this is the reimbursement consultant manager, and it's Tori. I can hit save. Okay, so now I have that information, and you can view the contact who I just added. There's no appeal yet, and I can just come right back out to my recovery list. So now I can see that I've changed the status, and any other information that I would have changed would have been updated there as well. Okay. So now I'm going to go and basically show you the next section, which is the payment list. Okay. So the payment list is when we're actually getting checks or electronic fund transfers against claims that we have submitted. I can look at all my previous checks that I've entered or payments that I've entered. And if I want to add a new one, I can click Add. I have to select the claim that this check is for. So just like when you're doing a claim, you have to select a payer. When you're entering a payment, you have to select a claim. So I'm going to do the new one that I just did. The payer name automatically pops up. It's the Illinois Leaking Underground Storage Tank Fund. I'm going to go ahead and enter a check number. I can put on a check date, check to receive date, and then the amount. If I had multiple expense categories open on this project, they would be listed here. So this happens to be a remediation project. That's project type. That's why it's showing up there. But let's say that we're getting $10,000. We have a $10,000, and I can go to the penny here. I can put in comments. If I need to add the name of the person that's entering this check information, I could do that, or maybe a name of a person or a contact from the entity that paid us, I could add it to the payment. But I'll hit save. Okay, so now you can see that we have two payments listed here. They're against two different claims. They're to the same payer. I have my check dates, the project type, and then the check amount. So there's the $10,000 check amount. That $10,000 just automatically populated itself to the total amount paid on that claim. So that moved up automatically. It also zeroed out our balance on that claim. We have no more money open in that claim balance. And it also updated our Illinois Leaking Underground Storage Tank Fund total paid. We were at 90, now we're at 100. Okay, so this process of submitting or entering and tracking claims, and then entering and tracking payments against your paying entities can continue throughout the life of a project. Okay. So that is the basic workflow around the payers, the claims, and the payments. We also have, there's a chart available. So as you submit claims against different funds, it's going to give you a pie chart. So far it's all against the $100,000 is all against one fund. So we have a chart, and then we also have documents. So most of you probably have seen document management in Infos already, but let me just add something here. You can actually see that I put a document in, but if I have another document for another claim package, I'm just going to drag it in and hit Start Upload. And now I have two files for this particular project. So typically, this is where you would upload all of your backup documentation, usually an image, a PDF file of your claims. You could also put in photocopies of checks. You could put in appeal, your appeal letters, maybe your cover letters on your submittals, things like that. It's just a special document area for anything to do with your claims on this particular project. Okay, and the document management, here works the same as it does everywhere else. I could download the file, depending on the status and whether this is locked or not. The file can be deleted. It could be password protected, and so on. Okay. So I'll show you a few other areas here. A lot of people, instead of entering the data through the user interface like I did, they are actually using our import files for that. To get to the import files in Infos, you need to go to the administration module, hover over transfers, and then come into and click on file import. You have your area to import your files. You have your import logs. That's the history of what you've imported. And then you have your import formats. So what I want to do is show you the import formats. So I went to the module called Finance in that drop down. And then we have the different imports here. So the ones that apply for what we're training on today are the claim import, the claim payer import, and the claim payment import. Okay, so the payer allows you to import payers in bulk and then update the information on the payers. So that's the file specification for that. It can be downloaded as a template, and then you can enter your data for one or more sites, one or more or multiple payers, and upload it. The next item was the actual claim import itself. So this is the file layout that allows you to electronically upload your claim information. And then the third one is the payment import. So if you want to enter payments on a weekly basis or a monthly basis or something, instead of as they come in and logging in and doing it to the screens, you can use this file layout to enter that information through the spreadsheet upload. And then there's one more associated with this that is let's see here. It's called historic claim payment. This is usually used during the initial implementation of Infos, where the customer wants to put in past years worth of claim payments. So instead of, and because the information may not be readily available, we have a summary level import format for historical claims that makes it easy just to track how much you recovered to date. Okay, so those are the three areas, or the four areas for importing data. Okay, the next area that I want to show you now is taking you back to financial planning and looking at the planning balance screen. This is the last item on the training agenda. So let me just shut this down. Okay. So for financial planning, at the beginning of the session, we said that you can plan and forecast over the life cycle of a remediation project for the spend as well as the recovery or receivable. You can also track and manage your claims and then your cash receipts or payments against those. And you can make changes to your cash flow forecast through time during a trigger event or once a year, once a quarter, whenever you have new information. Just like on the spend side, there are going to be processes by which you might need to adjust your cash flow recovery. In order to manage that from a financial perspective, we've incorporated the recovery data and the claims data also into the financial planning balance. So that's where I've navigated. I went to the balance screen, and we're going to look at the summary. And we've got three different financial statements here. We have, the first one is our spend information. So this is what we originally thought we were going to spend. That was our initial forecast. These are our changes to that through time. This is how much we've actually spent, and this is our balance, 568. That's gross spend. Okay, the second table shows me my recovery. My original estimate for recovery was 0. At some point in time, we said that for this work, we were going to get $100,000 back in our plan. And because of what I just showed you in the claims and payments, we have received $100,000. Our balance is 0. Okay? There's no more expected cash flow coming back on that. If there was, it would be shown there as our balance. So just like our spend balance, we could have a recovery balance. And then if we had open claims, they would be totaled here. Again, in my example, we don't have any open claims because we've completed them all and we've received all the money back less our deductible of $50,000. And I think we also had an ineligible expense. And then the third table is the net. So this is the gross spend. This is the recovery in the center. The table on the right is the net. So my original net estimate of 132.5 is nothing more than my spend estimate less my recovery estimate. Okay, my net adjustments would be my spend adjustments through time less my recovery adjustments through time. My life-to-date spend, again, is the net of my spend versus my receivable, and then my gross net balance. Okay, so my balance is 568. My net balance is 568, which is the same as my spend balance. That's because we have a $0 balance on our recovery side. So it's taking a lot of information and summarizing it here in 3 different financial statements: spend, recovery, and net. And again, this is all reportable information as well. But I wanted to show you the linkages back to the financial plan. Okay. The last area that I want to show, also in the balance screen, we've looked at these monthly roll forward tables before in previous training sessions. But I wanted to show that there are 2 lines for every month. There's the spend line that gives me my initial balance at the start of that month, which is January of 2016, minus my spend, plus or minus my adjustments, and it gives me my final balance, spend balance at the end of January. That 571 rolls forward to the starting balance of February. The same thing happens with the recovery. My starting balance, my recovery payments fall under the spend column, but it's my recovery payments, my adjustments, and then my final balance, and then that rolls forward. So that was my recovery balance. My spend, which is how much I received in payments on that recovery line, and then that final balance, so that's 0. So for every month of every year of a long-term project, you will have in Infos the month-by-month reporting of the starting balances, the activity during that period, and the ending balances for both the spend and the recovery, if you're tracking and managing your recovery in your plans and in your claims. Okay. So with that, we have finished that a little bit early, so we have some time for some questions. I'll have George read them to me, and then I'll summarize them, and then we'll attempt to give answers for them.
Can you show where the document section is in the claims submodule?
Yes. Okay. So the question was, could you remind us where the document section is in the claims submodule? So just to kind of reorient everyone, I'm looking at my hierarchy bar. I can see what area of concern and what site I'm at. I'm going to hover over my finance module. I'm going to move my cursor down to claims, click on that. That's going to direct me to my claims submodule. Again, remember, let me just open up my left panel. Just like in all of our other training sessions, you can close your sections on that page, or you can open them all at once. That's the plus or minus. You can also bookmark the claims. So if I click the star and I come in and look at my finance bookmarks, you can see I have my claims list for this project now bookmarked. So I can get back to this screen that I'm on in one click until I remove it by clicking the star to make it non-highlighted. Okay. But the very bottom section is documents. Okay, so we have basically one document management section for all of the claims and payers and payments for this particular project. We thought that was a better place to put it than, basically saying, okay, for every claim, let's put a document section there. That's a little bit too hidden, too detailed. So what we did was we just created a document section. So you can just drag and drop your files directly here. If you wanted to, here's one way of handling this. You could create folders, maybe by payer or by year. So, I could possibly say IL, let's do 2015 Illinois LUST folder. And I can go ahead and just add this folder there. Right, so I could have a 2014, a 2013, even a 2016, and I can I can move my files in there if I wanted. So I could just George, how do I? Okay, I want to move that. I can drag and drop it, I think, too. Sorry about that. So I'm not sure what happened to my document. Okay, there it is. Just had to refresh. I could, if I want to upload files to that target folder, I can do that. I'm just not thinking right now.
The next question is, do we need to submit a recovery plan at the same time as the cost plan?
Yeah, that's a very good question. The question is, if I come back over to financial planning, I'm going to go to life cycle. Do I need to submit my recovery plan with my cost plan? So technically, you will need to do that. So the answer is yes. And that's under the assumption that you do have some cost and you do have some recovery, right? If you're done spending on a project and you're only recovering, then no, you wouldn't have to. But if you have a cash flow forecast for spend and you have a cash flow or receivable forecast, then yes, they need to be entered in the same plan and reviewed and approved or rejected at the same time. Okay, so I know for some project teams that's not an issue because you're working, you may be responsible for both sides of the equation. And in other project teams, the receivable management or receivable planning is done by a different individual or different group. So you certainly would need to coordinate your information management if that was the case.
How do I run the claims detail report?
Okay, there's a question about reporting. And we do have a session next week just on reporting. But the question was, how do I run a claims detail report? Since we have time, we'll jump in and give you an example of that. So reporting is all done in the reporting submodule. If I don't already have that saved as a favorite report, I clicked on my favorite reports. I don't have any listed here. I would need to go in and run it by clicking on Run Report. So I have multiple steps in my reporting process. I can run it for a single project, or I could run it for a group of projects. That's what step 1 is. So if I just want to run it for this project or area of concern I'm on, I'm going to select that in step 1, and then I'll move on to step 2. That says, what report do I want to run? So we have different groups of reports. My claim detail report is in the finance group. When I click it, that says that's the report I want to run, and it also gives me my column headers on the right side of that. So that's my step 2. I have to select which report to run. So I'm done with that step. Step 3 lets me customize my report. So report customization allows me to put in date ranges. It allows me to maybe put in a different status. So maybe I only want to look at my submitted claims in this report versus my completed claims. So that's an example. If I want to create a report criteria for that output, I need to create it first. And I want to hit Add. And you can see I have all this built-in criteria. The claim status. Maybe I only want to look at my submitted claims in this report output. Maybe I only want to look for underground storage tank fund cash payer types. And then I can put in all kinds of different date ranges. I won't go through them all. I can save this criteria. I can call this my UST fund cash submitted claims. I'm giving it a name because it's going to save it for me. I won't have to do that again. So now I created a report criteria for that specific report from step 2. Report customizations allows me to select or deselect columns. So these are all the columns in this report. There's a lot of them. There's probably 30 columns. Maybe I only want to know the node path, the city, the state, and the claim number, the claim status, and let's put in my claim amount. So I only selected 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 columns out of probably 20 or 30 that were available. And then I'm just going to call this my my claims summary. I can specify a sort order, and then I'll hit save. Again, that could be a one-time setup. And then, so that's the end of step 3. And then step 4 is to run it. I can download it, or I can run the report and just see it in a new tab in Infos. I could have the report run as a download, or I could have it dumped into a predefined Excel template. I'll just run it in a new tab and then hit Run Report. Okay, and we've got one row of data. This is our report, and we have one row of data. There's the node path, the city, the state, the claim number, the status, and the claim amount. That was exactly what I asked for. And I can save it as a favorite. So I could put this as a favorite for my submitted claims and just go ahead and save that. So now I can close this. once you've saved a report to your favorites list, you could be doing something else in Infos. You could log out, log in. You come back into Infos, into reporting, and you just click on My Reports, and you go to your favorites, and there's the report that is now always going to be available for me as a user. And when I want to run it, I just click Run, and it runs it. So those report criteria and report customization were one-time setups for me to define how I want my output to look on the screen and then in the download. Okay, we have time for a few more questions. Okay, I think that's it. All right, we're going to go ahead and close down this session. I appreciate everyone attending, and we will be putting the video of this up on the Infos Test 2 and the Infos integration sites that you have access to, and we appreciate your time. Thank you.